Hello viewers, welcome to my channel. Today I have a very interesting story for you. Don't forget like to and subscribe. Now enjoy the story.
The ring had survived a war, a house fire, and 46 years of dish soap. It had not survived my daughter-in-law. I saw it through the smudged window of Kessler's Pawn and Loan on 5th Street, glinting under a fluorescent light between a guitar with no strings and a stack of gold chains. And for 3 full seconds, I told myself it was a different ring. There had to be 1,000 plain gold bands with a tiny nick on the inside of the shank, right. Then I saw Rachel's blue coat, the one my son bought her last Christmas, leaning over the counter, sliding something across the glass toward a man with reading glasses pushed up on his bald head. I am 71 years old. I have buried a mother, a father, and a sister. I have sat in hospital waiting rooms so many times I could tell you which vending machine eats your dollar. Nothing in any of that prepared me for the particular way my stomach dropped watching my son's wife hand over my husband's wedding ring like it was a coupon. Ned doesn't take that ring off. Not to shower, not to garden, not even the year his fingers swelled up so bad from the arthritis that Dr. Patel had to grease his knuckle with dish soap to work it loose for an X-ray. That ring has been on his hand since 1979, since a chapel in Ohio with folding chairs and his mother crying into a paper napkin because they couldn't afford real ones. It is not valuable. It is not even real gold all the way through anymore, the plating's worn so thin. It is, however, the only thing on this earth that means more to my husband than his own 2 hands. I pushed the pawn shop door open so hard the bell over it nearly came off its hook. Rachel! She spun around like I'd caught her with her hand in a fire. Her face went the color of old paper. Carol, what are you? I didn't know you. That's Ned's ring. My voice came out steadier than I felt. Give it back. The man behind the counter, to his credit, didn't touch it again. He just stood there with his hands up like a man who has learned the hard way not to get involved in family business that walks through his door. It's not what you think, Rachel said, which is what everyone says right before it is exactly what you think. Then what is it? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you drove 20 minutes to sell my husband's wedding ring to a stranger without asking either of us. Her eyes filled up fast, the way they do when someone's more scared than sorry. I needed Carol, I needed money, and I didn't know who else to. Danny doesn't know I'm here. Please don't tell him. Now I want to be fair to you, because this is the part of the story where I could make myself sound like a saint and Rachel sound like a thief, and neither one of those things is quite true. I did not, in that moment, care about being fair. I cared about the ring. I snatched it off the counter, felt the familiar dent under my thumb, and I told the pawnbroker I was sorry for the trouble, and I told my daughter-in-law that we would be discussing this properly, at home, with Ned. And I walked out of that shop shaking so hard I dropped my keys twice in the parking lot. I drove straight home. Ned was in the garden, fussing over his tomatoes in that ridiculous straw hat our granddaughter got him at the state fair, and I nearly didn't tell him. I stood at the kitchen window for a good 5 minutes with that ring cooling in my closed fist, trying to decide whether some things are kinder left buried. I decided they weren't. 46 years, you don't start keeping secrets from each other at the finish line. Ned, I opened the back door. I need to show you something, and I need you to not have a heart attack about it. That is, of course, exactly the sentence that gives a 73-year-old man a heart attack about it. He came in wiping soil off his hands onto his trousers, saw the look on my face, and by the time I opened my fist and showed him his own ring sitting in my palm like evidence at a trial, his face had gone through about 4 different colors. Where did you? That's on my hand. That's supposed to be on my... He looked down at his bare finger like it had betrayed him personally. Carol, where was this? I told him all of it. Kessler's Pawn on 5th, the guitar with no strings, Rachel's blue coat, the way she couldn't look at me. Ned sat down hard at the kitchen table, and for a man who survived 2 tours and a triple bypass without so much as raising his voice, he looked more shaken than I'd seen him in years. How did she even get it off my hand? He said, more to himself than to me. I never take it off? That question sat between us for a long, ugly minute, because there was only one time recently that Ned's ring hadn't been on his hand, 2 weeks ago, when his fingers had swollen up again after we'd been working in the yard all weekend, and he'd left it on the little dish by the bathroom sink for 3 days until the swelling went down. Rachel and Danny had been over for dinner during that stretch. Rachel had helped clear the dishes. Rachel had used our bathroom. I felt sick, not because my daughter-in-law might have stolen from us, though God knows that was bad enough, but because I genuinely did not know, in that moment, whether the woman my son loved was a thief or something worse, or something sadder, and I didn't have the first idea which one I was more afraid of. We were still sitting there, the ring on the table between us like a small gold accusation, when someone knocked on the front door. Not Rachel's knock, not Danny's easy double tap. 3 hard, official knocks, the kind that make your whole chest go tight before you've even reached the handle. I opened it to 2 police officers standing on my porch, one of them holding a small notepad, both of them wearing the particular polite blankness that cops wear when they haven't decided yet whether you're a victim or a suspect. Mrs. Whitfield, Carol Whitfield. Yes, my mouth had gone dry as chalk. Behind me, I heard Ned's chair scrape back from the table. We got a call about 20 minutes ago from a pawnbroker on 5th Street, a Mr. Kessler. The officer glanced at his notes, said a woman came in trying to pawn a ring, then a second woman came in, took the item, and left without completing any transaction or providing ID. He wanted it on record in case there were questions about ownership, given the unusual circumstances. I actually laughed, one short, disbelieving bark of a laugh, because in 20 minutes I had gone from horrified to guilty to now apparently a person of interest in my own kitchen. Officer, that ring belongs to my husband. It has for 46 years. I can show you our wedding photos. I can show you the insurance rider from 1979. I can. Ma'am, we're not here to accuse you of anything. He said it kindly enough. Mr. Kessler wasn't sure if a crime had occurred at all, honestly. But pawn shops are required to flag anything that looks like a possible dispute over stolen property, especially when a second party removes an item before a transaction's logged. It's mostly paperwork. We just need a statement. That's when Ned stepped up beside me, holding the ring out flat on his palm like he was giving testimony under oath, which in a way he was. This is mine, he said simply. It's never once left this house except on my own hand. Until 3 days it sat in a dish because my knuckles swelled up. I don't know how it ended up 20 minutes from here. But it's mine, and my wife brought it home, and whatever's going on, that part isn't a crime. The younger officer wrote that down. The older one looked past us into the kitchen, and that's when he saw her, Rachel, standing frozen in the doorway to the hall, having let herself in the back the way she always did, clearly having followed us home and lost her nerve about knocking. Nobody said anything for a second. Then Rachel did something I did not expect. She walked forward past both of us, right up to the officers and said, "I'm the one who took it. I can explain, and I'd rather explain to my family than to you if that's all right, but I'm not going to lie about it." Turned out, and this took the better part of that evening, 3 pots of coffee, and Danny arriving home to find 2 police cruisers outside his parents' house, that Rachel hadn't taken the ring to steal it, not really. She'd taken it because 6 weeks earlier, Danny had lost his job quietly and had been too ashamed to tell either of us, and Rachel had been draining their savings trying to cover the mortgage and hide it from him so he wouldn't spiral the way he had the last time he lost work. She'd found the ring in the bathroom dish, remembered it wasn't really solid gold, but panicked and grabbed it anyway on a day she was desperate enough that $100 felt like the difference between staying afloat and not. She hadn't gone through with it. That was the part that mattered most to me once my heart rate came back down. She'd stood at that counter and hadn't been able to make herself finish the sale, which is exactly why I'd caught her still standing there instead of walking in to an empty display case. The police left with their statement and a mild, weary sympathy in their eyes, the look of men who see families implode over far less than a ring and are relieved, for once, to leave a house without anyone in handcuffs. Ned put his ring back on his finger, where I don't believe it has come off since, not even to garden. And Rachel and Danny sat at our kitchen table until midnight, finally telling us the truth about the job, the money, the months of quiet terror, while Ned held his wife's hand under the table with the same ring that had nearly ended up in a stranger's pocket that afternoon. I think about that day whenever people ask me if I trust my daughter-in-law. The honest answer is that trust isn't the thing I felt driving home with that ring clenched in my fist, ready to believe the very worst of her. What I felt afterward, watching her tell the truth to two police officers rather than lie her way out of it, was something sturdier than trust. It was the particular relief of finding out that the people you love are frightened, not rotten, and that sometimes the ugliest afternoon of your life is really just the day your family finally stops hiding from each other.